On this video, we're going to go through Love on the Spectrum US Season 1, Episode 2. Let's go. Welcome back. Great to see you. And for those that are new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for being a part of this amazing community. I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy. And since my adult diagnosis, I've devoted my time to advocating for the autistic community. And I do that through my blogs, podcasts, and these YouTube videos. And my goal is to raise the level of understanding, acceptance, and appreciation of the autistic community. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in being a part of, well, I'd absolutely love you to join my community. The first thing you can do is subscribe to my YouTube channel, by subscribing, by watching the videos, sharing them, commenting, rating. You're helping me reach more people. And all that means is more people learn about autism and we improve the quality of lives of autistic people right across the planet. You can also check out my website, orionkelly.com.au. Love on the Spectrum US edition. In episode 1, it ended with Danny going on a date with Solomon. At the end of the episode, Danny basically provided some sort of compliment in an autistic way, which sometimes I've experienced it by being the person doing it, can come across a little bit too full on. Anyway, one reason or other, Solomon got a bit overwhelmed and excused himself from the table. Okay, so that is how episode 1 ends. So let's start episode 2, which commences at the same point that episode 1 left off. And Danny is pretty much just kind of asking our favorite friends behind the cameras, did I do something wrong? From here forward, I don't think I'll refer to Danny anymore as the Teo of the US version. From here forward, I'll refer to Danny as the Michael of the US edition. And I make myself laugh. Eventually, Solomon comes back and he's taking his time. Okay, this is an overwhelming situation. You think about it. If you're dating someone on a blind date and you see yourself with someone with no challenges or no diagnosed disabilities, I guarantee you're still going to be pretty scared. Blind dates, frankly, are pretty horrible. Dangerous even. It's a tricky situation for autistic people to navigate. So even someone paying you a compliment can be really overwhelming, can kind of shatter your focus. There's no question that he is attracted to Danny. He's interested in Danny. And I feel at this point, there's no question Danny is attracted and interested in Solomon. And he decides he'll use his skills and abilities and he'll read her a poem. And clearly Danny's impressed and they start to get a little bit, giggly. One of the things that I find interesting about Danny's response really to any dating experiences is after that poem, Danny automatically views it through her lens. That's me. You've described me. That's perfect. And then she says something along the lines of him to, I think you'd be a good fit. Okay, there's a few things to talk about here. Number one, this is not about Danny. Danny's autistic, so am I. As autistic people, our hand gestures, facial expressions, our words and our tone of our words, our tone of our voice almost never match up. I don't care about the tone or the facial expressions or the hand gestures or the body language because that is being autistic. If you find yourself laughing or judging Danny because you think she moves her hands weirdly or that's somehow funny or entertaining to you, then, shame on you. I don't know what you're laughing at. You're laughing at a person because they're different. It's the words though. A good fit. This is such a HR term. I applauded in the last video the inclusion of an autistic relationship expert. She's fantastic at what she does. I love the stuff she did in episode 1. But this is the kind of things where's the interaction been with her and Danny? There needed to be interaction between the relationship coach and Danny based on her perceptions of, number one, who she thinks is the right person for her, and number two, how she thinks she would find that person. Because when you say you'd be a good fit, again, it's words, but words are my thing. It sounds more like she's hiring an employee. It sounds like Danny seems to think she's hiring an employee or she's hiring a business partner rather than finding a life partner. And I know she talked about it in episode 1 about trying to find someone who can really be her business partner, who can work with her 24/7. Near the end of the date between Danny and Solomon, they both start to talk about how they think they found their soulmate, potentially hours into a first date, and they've found their soulmate. That's possible. If Danny was on a blind date with, say, a neurotypical guy of the similar age of Solomon, and she said, you're hot, I love you, I think you're my soulmate, I don't think they'd react anywhere near the way Solomon has reacted. So again, that's a good insight into autistic people and autistic dating. I'll be honest with you, the remainder of this date, if you've watched it or you're about to watch it, good luck. I feel like it's a combination between like an autistic version of 50 Shades of Grey, like a Mills and Boon novel, and just like a really random acting class. I guess if anything, it shows the all-in nature of autistic people. There's only all in, and you'll find this in all the other episodes, right? You'll know very quickly, yes or no, in or out, all in. There's no, let's see how it goes. There's no like, oh, I'm just willing to explore the relationship and the experiment. Like seriously, it's all, autistic married at first sight would literally be the groom or the bride would rock up, they go, nah, sorry. And they'd turn their back and they'd go back in the car and they'd say, see you later. This is the worst possible scenario for me. If you are watching this at home and you find this interaction just kind of like cute, or you might call it heartwarming, I think you should think about that. Because frankly, I think that's patronizing and it's disingenuous. To call this experience heartwarming or cute is to patronize, to look down upon them as if they're mere infants. Okay, on to James, the Michael of the US version. Now, it starts off with the guy behind the camera again, asking a question about routines and stuff. Now, all they ask for is some slightly more focused and specific wording. James, as an autistic person, that's it. That's it. And then your question, James, as an autistic person, why is routines, why is organization, why are these things important to you? Not are they? Yes, very much so. That's not insight. And frankly, that entire scene was only there to set up what, in my opinion, is pretty much a on-film autistic meltdown. James, in preparation for his first date, has been out and about, presumably, and he's misplaced his checkbook. So I didn't realize that's something that's still available. Maybe it's part of the medieval life that James likes to live. I don't know. Anyway, he's misplaced his checkbook. That's important. Okay, now here's the thing. Autistic people, as a rule, don't often misplace things. We're very good at keeping our, he just keeps his bedroom in order. We're very good at keeping our things in order and in place and knowing where our things are. And when they go missing, usually someone's moved them, put them there, or it's just been in a high stress environment, which would be dating and a camera crew in your bedroom regularly. In my opinion, the scene in his house where his mum and dad are there and they're trying to help him, and the way he is, he's soothing himself and stimming and potentially starting to experience a bit of a autistic meltdown, which is not the same as just like a colloquial meltdown. Like, hey, Jim really had a meltdown in the office today. No, it's not the same. A autistic meltdown is a brain response. It's your brain responding. So it isn't something you can control. Your brain has responded in a way where it says, I can no longer handle, understand, or deal with the feelings and emotions I'm currently feeling. I'm out. Right? So it becomes something that I don't know. Do you need to see that? I don't see any relevance, by the way, to the whole point of this show, which is love and dating. Do you think you needed to see James having what I could be arguably a autistic meltdown over a misplaced checkbook in his house with his mum and dad? How does that help us? Oh, well, Orion, people get to see an autistic guy melting down. Oh, really? So in a non-controllable, extremely vulnerable position from a person with a neurologically, developmentally, medically diagnosed disability, you think that is the content the world should see. How about I set up a camera in your house, wait for your most vulnerable moment that you actually can't even control, and broadcast that on Netflix? And before we move on, the one thing about James that I think has become quite worldwide phenomenon is kind of the it's almost Napoleon Dynamite. Someone will say something and his initial reaction, that's stimming. In my opinion, that is him regulating, soothing to process. And we all do it in different ways. Personally, I think when he has something he needs to digest or process, that's not just the standard, I'm expecting this, and it's too much, or he needs to regulate, he makes those noises. I can relate because my wife's always asking, am I okay, when I like do a deep breath. Out of nowhere, I might just go, and my wife's like, you okay? I'm like, and often what I say is, I'm fine, just life. This is the thing. There's like memes and like 2-second video GIFs and things going around, right? Of James doing that. This is an autistic person stimming, regulating themselves. This is a natural autistic response. This isn't fodder. This isn't social media content. This isn't humor. Again, ask yourself, Do you find this funny or cute or quirky or odd or weird or heartwarming? Or is this great content for GIFs and memes? If it is, you've missed the whole point of this show, and what you've done is you've bought in to the idea of exploiting a disabled minority for the entertainment of the masses, but even worse, for the commercial gain of organizations. The next castmate on this the next person on this docu-series we meet is Kaylin. Gracie is the housemate of Kaylin. And yeah, Gracie's cool. I dig Gracie. Good on you, Gracie, for just being a good friend. Like seriously, being a supportive friend. And one of the examples of that, putting your money where your mouth is the house. There are labels and signs around the house to make things super easy. So you know exactly where the dog food is, where the cutlery goes, where the pots and pans go. Like this is good stuff. See, this is inclusion, right? So inclusion isn't saying, hey, Kaylin, you need to learn where the pans go so you can put the pans away too, therefore be included. That's not inclusion, that's exclusion. Inclusion is, hey, Kaylin, I've put a sign on all the doors so you know where everything goes. So if you'd like to put away the dishes, you'll know exactly where they go. If you'd like to make some dinner for us tonight or feed the dog, you know where to get it. That's inclusion. Something that's really interesting and a great insight into Kaylin, she talks about one of the struggles of dating, obviously, is the conversational side, the social side. A lot of times when I talk to other autistic people through my YouTube channel who are adults, who maybe are married or are married with kids, a lot of times I find none of them are married to another autistic person. In fact, a lot of them are married to neurotypical partners. They may then go on to have autistic kids. The idea isn't only one way works, but I genuinely think, and this is probably based on the opinions of parents and family members through childhood and through early years of life, but I genuinely feel like if you're an autistic person, you must unburden yourself of the idea there is a particular type of person that you can be with. If you want to date autistic people, great. If you want to date other neurodivergent people, great. If you want to date people with other disabilities, great. Just because you have a diagnosed disability doesn't mean that you can't date someone who does not. In a way, she's highlighted one of the things that I've talked about. That is clearly a struggle for autistic people. The social side of dating, finding someone. And we're back with Abby and Abby's mum and Abby's dog. And this is literally the last thing that you hear in that kind of scene with Abby at home with her mum and the dog, having a conversation about dating. And that's cool. That's what parents and kids should do. The last sentence of that really got me. The mum said something along the lines of, when you're dating, it's about learning who someone is, and none of that has anything to do with autism. Learning about someone has nothing to do with autism. I'm going to need some processing time for this. Hang on. But what if a person's autistic? If a person's autistic, then that has everything to do about learning about them. You can't separate the autism from Abby. You can't separate the autism from an autistic person. The only thing that makes you autistic is your brain. You can take the brain out, but then you're dead. So, but for the autistic brain, you aren't a living, breathing person. Therefore, you can't take the autism out of the person you're getting to know. Therefore, in addition to that, if you're autistic and you're getting to know another person, you're doing it through an autistic brain. There's nothing about getting to know someone or others in a dating situation that doesn't have to do with autism in one way or another. Parents minimalizing autism because they think somehow they're saving their children they're not. You're setting them up to fail. Mental health issues are already astronomical. Don't make it worse by not even you accepting that it's part of their life. It is them. Back at our mate Danny's house, the Michael of Love on the Spectrum US, and she's talking to her auntie prior to getting ready for a second date with Solomon. And the conversation goes real weird real quick for some reason. And I don't know who got into Danny's ear or where this came from. Maybe it's Danny's own personal experiences and perceptions through her upbringing. I don't know. But for some reason, Danny is legit guilty about showing her feelings to Solomon. And more than that, for kissing him. I watched that date. You both openly shared your feelings. You both openly consented and willingly held hands and kissed and hugged. Why would you regret something so pure? It's like a first kiss in a new romance. This troubles me. There's a thing I like to tell people. You know how neurotypical people tend to text each other during the day, like if they're at work or wherever? That's not something I do. I don't do the check-in text. And there's a few things. Number one, I care for my wife and kids more than anyone else on the planet, but I don't check in with them. If there's an issue, they'll tell me. There is, in effect, in my opinion, a thing where autistic people, out of sight, out of mind is an actual thing. When you're absent from our physical contact, we're absent from real thoughts of this person. Danny goes from this amazing date, saying she loves him and it's amazing, to saying the next time, when he's not around, she regrets probably kissing him, showing him her feelings. In addition to that, what's really important is that she finds someone who not only likes animation, but understands business, understands how businesses work, and can be a part of business with me. So she's switched from he's attractive, he could be my soulmate, I love him, I want to hold his hand and kiss him, and just feeling great, which is dating, to I wonder if this person is the right employee for our company. I wonder if he's the right fit. And frankly, the auntie is really good in this situation. I mean, honestly, she says, well, you know what? You've got to be open-minded. There really isn't a perfect partner. Now, Danny makes a face, a really quizzical, confused face, as in, that's not true, is it? These are the kind of conversations where if you're a parent or a carer or a partner of an autistic person, this is when the conversation starts. Hang on a second. Danny, do you know what I'm saying? When I say there's no such thing as a perfect partner, do you know what I mean when I say that? As in, you might find someone who you are super attracted to and you feel deeply connected to. You feel like it's your absolute soulmate, but has no interests of yours. Is the reverse of a person that you think in your mind is right for you, but they still may be the perfect person for you. Where, on the other hand, you may find someone who is the perfect person in your mind from a business sense and an animation sense and that kind of professional part of your life, but you might not feel physically connected to them or connected on a deeply spiritual level or a soul partner kind of level. And I think these two people are part of this season. If you've watched all the episodes, you know what I'm talking about. Danny goes through this. She experiences the two people. Neither are perfect. There will always be a choice in life. So these are the conversations that are going to help Danny or would have helped Danny. Welcome to the Love on the Spectrum family. 32-year-old Sabod. Isn't he a character? What a character. He opens up with he's been single for 32 years. Now you're 32, Sabod. Now this is just my own personal opinion, but I reckon we're probably going to have to pull back the period of you can't really be 5 and single. I mean, I don't want to get into the kind of child bride territory kind of, but do you see what I'm saying? Like, okay, so you're 32, so you've been single for all your dating life. Anyways, this is where it gets to the entertainment territory. What does the dude off camera say? Your whole life. Like, automatically he realizes, oh, this is fodder. People are going to find this funny. People are going to find this cute and heartwarming. Again, you can put that on your title and your little description, cute, heartwarming, romantic, reality TV, docuseries, just in case anyone wonders why we're not paying them. But it doesn't actually make it right. It's not cute and heartwarming and funny to be amused by someone who's being deadly serious. And you can tell by the response, your whole life, yes, deadly serious. He's trying to say in his own way, yep, I've never had a girlfriend. Also, and this got nothing to do with Sabod, by the way, nothing to do with him. As a general term, Sabod hasn't been on the autism spectrum since 5. He was diagnosed at 5. You are born autistic or you are not. Could you have like a cut to? You know how they do those weird B-roll things when they introduce people like, this is Jim. You know, Jim doesn't like being stabbed in the head. Who does? But you know when they do those, so you can do those things, but you can't have like, okay, cut to like the B-roll and a voiceover of someone going, you know, it's now widely known and accepted that autism cannot be caught or cannot be acquired. You are born autistic or you are born not autistic. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, so you can do the little B-rolls about Jim doesn't like being stabbed in the head, but you can't do that. Do you see what I'm saying? It's the exact same thing. Little bite-sized bits of information that don't in any way single out Sabod. It's got nothing to do with him. It's just using that as a catalyst to open up the conversation and develop more information. Hey, look at that. Only 23 minutes into the episode and Kaylin is on a date on a show called Love on the Spectrum. Kaylin's off to some speed dating. This is what I would class as more of a real world situation, but it's also a really interesting discussion starter based on disclosure. If you are an autistic person looking to date, do you think you should disclose that you were autistic from the get-go, from the start? I mean, I'm talking in the profile, right? Or if you're meeting someone, hi, I'm Orion. Just so you know, I'm autistic. Oh, what's that? That's a disclosure thing. Or do some people feel so scared that they will be rejected, which is true because everyone else does by the world, that they would never dare disclose that until they absolutely had to, which in the end can come across like something they've withheld. They're being deceitful. So you can't win. Okay, so we've established that Kaylin is a big animal lover and she absolutely hates hunting. So she wants to make sure if she's dating someone, they don't like hunting. She wants to make sure if she's dating someone on these speed dates, she gets to the bottom of if they hunt animals for sport or whatever. Now, to get to that point, she asks questions like, do you hunt? Or have you ever hunted? You would probably more go something like, what do you think about hunting? I'm a real animal lover. What do you think about hunting, right? And they can go, I don't like it, or I love it. But when you say something like, have you ever hunted or do you hunt? In a way, it can come across like, I'm a hunter. I like hunting. Have you ever hunted? Do you like hunting? So you can see that as an autistic person, the social interaction, the being able to reciprocate and convey the right things in conversations are extraordinarily hard. Kaylin said that prior. And here's an example of, in my opinion, her struggling. She's trying to interact socially, trying to provide some sort of conversation starter to get to something she really wants to know. But the way she's done it, and the guy actually did a great job. He talked about, do you like hunting? I haven't hunted in a long time. Is it something you want to learn? And of course, the answers are kind of out of context to the question because she's asked him, have you ever hunted? Do you like hunting? He's like, do you? No. Do you want to learn? No. Love on the spectrum is hard. And Kaylin has done a great job of showing that. The social interaction, communication, these types of challenges are some of the biggest challenges faced by autistic people. And like I was talking about before with this kind of all or nothing mentality, when I was talking about Danny and Solomon, this autistic mentality a lot of times in people in dating of this all or nothing, this in or out. It was, again, you could see it with Kaylin. She said it herself, I know Gracie told me to give him a chance, but I couldn't. Now, the clear standout with Kaylin's speed dating was with a guy called Peter. My initial response from seeing Peter in this episode, and really in others, was this guy seems like a cool guy. Number one, he seems like the typical partner that I know of autistic people I know. So he seems really down to earth, really relaxed, really comfortable in his own skin, really chilled out, but also aware and able to initiate things and start conversations. And that's really the vibe that I got from his speed date with Kaylin. And clearly she got a similar vibe. Kaylin and Peter have some great conversations, including online dating, horror stories, and they connect, they click. It's obvious. One thing that's really interesting to point out is Kaylin actually explained that she works with autistic kids, and Peter did actually kind of follow up with, well, how'd you get into that or whatever? I guess potentially asking, are you autistic? And Kaylin really just responded with, I've been doing it as an internship and I just kind of stayed there. So there was an opportunity there to disclose and it wasn't taken. And this is not a judgment on Kaylin. This is a, hey, please stand up. Guys, instead of laughing at things, maybe have a look at this and think, okay, here's a woman who, given an opportunity, decides not to just be honest about who she is because really she fears that this guy who could be a keeper might reject her. How do you think that would make you feel if that's how you had to go through your day-to-day life? With a few minutes to go of episode 2, James gets a date on Love on the Spectrum. James has a sit-down date with Emma. In this date, I love how James, they're talking about, him and Emma are talking about things they like, hiking and things, and they talk about a story of going up Mount Washington or something like that. And Emma he asks, have you been up there? Have you walked up there? She said, we've only really been up there. We drove up there. And he's like, I kind of would class that as cheating. She wasn't. What competition was she in, James? I love that. From my own personal opinion, you can ask my wife. She says all the time, I can have disproportionate responses to things happening. Okay, so for example, in this particular date, they get their meals, beautiful meals, very excited, great vibe coming in from the conversation. It's all on its up, right? And then James drops his knife on the ground. People drop their cutlery on the ground all the time. James, you should not feel bad about that, mate. That's just, everyone does it. It's normal. Don't worry. But it's a disproportionate response to neurotypical people because it's really quite a big thing in his mind. And I can understand that. He wants to look, cool and together. And, he also kind of, I guess he kind of yells, damn it, or something. And he's frustrated. Now, that can be quite jarring for the other person because they might see that reaction and think, oh, and you can kind of see in the face of the date that it's a bit jarring. And we already talked about what's the point of the whole checkbook meltdown being aired. What's the point of that? And I guess this too is interesting. They're insights, but are they insights that will help? Because from what I can gather, most of the dates that are the most awkward or the most entertaining and confrontational are at the end of every episode. So this is the end, right? Clearly it's for that reason. So again, all that tells me is to keep people watching longer. We're going to put the stuff they really want to see, which is that awkward or entertaining or comical or whatever quirky stuff at the end. Therefore, again, aside from keeping in this mini little reaction to a knife, which happens to everyone, but an autistic reaction, which doesn't happen to everyone. Keeping that in, aside from what? To entertain the masses while exploiting a disabled group for the benefit, commercial gain of organizations. So it ends there with the classic autistic goodbye wind-up that takes like 20 minutes and the obvious question, would you like to see me again, says James. And I guess we'll have to wait till episode 3 to see if they can get together. I may never fully recover from reviewing episode 2. I'll do my best and hopefully a new review soon. In the meantime, you can check out my other reviews of past Love on the Spectrum episodes and seasons. And thank you so much for watching. Until my next video, I really do appreciate your support. We'll talk soon.